Welcome to this demonstration of IMAPP's comparables function. In IMAPP, every comparables report is based on a subject property for which you want to find comparable properties. Let's find a subject property entering an address in the quick search bar. This brings up the property report for what we'll call the subject property. Once on that property report, you can find comparables by clicking on Find Comparables. The new report screen will show brief info about the subject property and a map of the region at the top. The default comparables settings will be used to bring up some comparables properties and calculate a projected value below that. All of these settings are customizable, but let's look at the default results first. At the bottom of the page, the matching recent sales are listed. These are the properties used to calculate our projected sales prices. The numbers match the numbers on the map above. You can review core property details to determine if they seem like good comparable sales. The Realtor logo indicates an MLS-listed sale. The value ratio compares the assessor market value to the last sale price. You can also click on the parcel identifier link to open a full report for any comp properties to see more details and do more research into those comps. We limit this list to 30 matches at most. The included comparable properties are ranked based on similarity on a multivariate similarity scale. In general, the properties that are closer to the subject property in market value, distance, building size, features, and have more recent sales are listed higher on this list. Ones that are less similar are ranked lower or not included at all. Above in the projected sale price area, you can see two different projections. The top number is calculated by comparing the appraiser's office estimates of value to the real-world sale prices for those properties. The bottom number is calculated by comparing the square footage of these properties to the sale prices. If the county does a good job of valuing properties, or if there is a great deal of variability in the similarity of the comparables, the top number is usually more reliable. If you have a set of comparables that are all of very similar quality, such as matching garages, pools, size, and waterfront settings, the price per square foot can be more reliable. For more details on comparable calculations, you can consult the Tooltip help system and related articles. In the statistics settings, you can see the full range of similarity of comparables listed. This is handy to see any outliers that might be throwing off your projections. If there are comparables that are not good matches or don't reflect the prevailing market, you can manually remove them. Looking through the list of comps, we can see this property sold for much less than was expected by the market value. Perhaps it was in particularly bad condition. Let's remove that by unchecking this box. The proposed selling prices are recalculated above, and that property is deselected and dropped to the bottom of the list. If you want to include it again, you can always check the box next to it to reinstate it. Now let's look at the comparison criteria. All these settings are customizable to filter in sales that you find to be relevant to the valuation of the subject property. If you know that some areas or features are more or less applicable, you can adjust the results to find the best sample for your projection. In this example, we are only looking at properties within 20% on lot size and building size for properties sold in the past year within a mile of the subject property. By default, we only search for properties that are of the same use type as the subject property, like single-family residential. We can also choose to broaden those settings to similar categories, which in this case would be all residential properties. Or we can select all property sales. Using these more broad categories can be very broad, but can be helpful for some commercial properties and others which don't have a large set of possible comps. Since we are finding many comps this way, we'll leave this as equivalent. Also by default, this is set to use all sources of sales data. This will include all sales, including MLS-based sales and private party sales. When available, we could change this to include only MLS-based sales, or switch to only use sales that we have gotten through public records. Some non-MLS sales include for sale by owner, distressed properties, and investor sales that might not reflect the broader market, so there may be times when you want to use only MLS sales. For this example, we'll leave it as is. Now let's see what happens when we make some adjustments. The land size filter can be a little limiting, so let's expand that to 50%. Some of the biggest factors in a property's value can be if they have a pool, garage, or waterfront. Let's change the garage setting to only include properties that match the subject property. Click Update Criteria to see a new estimate. The projections have gone up, as properties without garages have been excluded. There are quite a few matches, so this reflects a strong sampling. However, you can do a lot of customizing to find a very specific set of comparables to really hone your estimate to match the market that you identify. For example, let's try to also match properties with the same number of bedrooms and bathrooms as the subject. This will further reduce the results, but will dial in a more exact set of comps. This is a very strong group of properties for a CMA, and for this report, it provides a pretty close set of projections. Depending on the individual natures of the properties, there is a range of values provided, but the average is our best projection based on what the report contains. Let's expand our selection a bit and try a few more options. If we expand our search to sales in the last 2 years and recalculate, the projections go down. And if we move to only the most recent 6 months of sales, the projections go up. The more recent sales are higher and likely a better reflection of the current market than older sales. We can also adjust the area selected for comparables into smaller or larger distances, or only within a zip code or subdivision. Those can be helpful if there are many sales in one of those discrete areas with similar properties. Let's try with a condominium now. Here's a new subject condominium report. The process is the same. Click on Find Comparables. Again, this is only going to compare other condominiums. Let's filter to properties in this same condominium development by subdivision. The projections seem pretty consistent, with a good selection of comps. Now let's switch from 1 year to the last 6 months. The projection goes up again as we use more current data reflecting increasing values. You can continue to refine the results to match the market. Let's try with vacant land now. Here's a new subject land parcel report. The process is the same. Click on Find Comparables. This is only going to compare other recent vacant land sales. Let's filter to properties within 3 miles, as there are fewer land sales. That expands our results and changes the projection. Now let's switch from 2 years to the last year. With each change, the results are updated. You can continue to customize to find a good representative sample that matches your subject property. You can do the same process with other types of property, such as multifamily, commercial, and industrial. There are fewer sales that match those types, so you may need to loosen the property type settings or expand your distance to find more comps. With IMAPP, the power is yours to customize the criteria for finding accurate comps.